I came from nothing. I'm self-made.
The box office is dead, most likely for good, and this year, 2025, may be the worst yet. That's partly due to lots of shit movies deterring audiences, but then you've got financial issues and just plain bad marketing to consider.
My livelihood destroyed.
Fact is, if you're not a sequel to an established franchise like Predator or The Conjuring, you really have to be good. Weapons, Sinners are exceptions for making a lot of money, but at this point, simply not being a flop is an achievement, and some really good movies can't even pull that off. So opposed to just naming the year's top movies because that'd be a fairly obvious list, and not a lot of choices, we're gonna count down the films you likely didn't see because based on the box office, a lot of you didn't. And again, maybe you have, but these really had no chance. Let's get into it. You know, Stephen King has had quite the year. A pretty decent adaptation of The Monkey, The Impeccable Long Walk. Absolutely nothing after that.
Fuck you!
And in between, we had a movie that was kind of screwed. I don't really know what the exact Life of Chuck budget was, though it's definitely a failure. And that's too bad because you could very well argue it's the best Stephen King adaptation this year. That is if you don't like The Long Walk, because apparently some of you don't. But aside from the movie having a slight pacing issue due to its 3-act format, there isn't really a lot wrong with this. It's a very unique idea, has a strong message. Not many movies like it. Unfortunately, the aforementioned pacing issue leads to a big reveal happening way too early. But that's not the reason it failed. Obviously. Some do attribute this to being mismarketed, and I don't really see that. In my case, I knew what I was getting. A drama. Stephen King made other movies that weren't horror, that should be apparent, so I think the real issue is the appeal. Selling unique concepts is not easy these days. Like I said, the economy is problematic, and if you're gonna spend money to see a movie, you're gonna tend to play it safe, and this is not safe. Not to mention bad marketing going up against How to Train Your Dragon, slightly less CGI edition. Why did we need that? And similar to the best real YouTube content, if it's not shown, you're fucked. You have to know the movie exists, odds are you don't, and then you have to choose a relatively unique pick over a pointless remake. That's simply not gonna work. To top it off, it wasn't even easy to see, it had a limited release. You're probably lucky to make what it did. That being said, if you want something completely new, something unique, I'd seek it out. It's worth it.
It won't lie to you. It's pure that way.
You know, I may not love Keanu Reeves, but I do love diverse acting styles. He definitely has that. Seeing him play a guardian angel and completely fuck up the mission relying on cliche tactics, he is a joy to watch. And I love the way the movie completely twists the It's a Wonderful Life concept and takes a more realistic view on it. That again became part of the problem. A lot of people didn't like that because why do anything real? But again, the issue is it's a comedy and those haven't done well in a while. It's understandable why nobody wants to pay to see a comedy in a theater. If I was just going for fun, I don't think I would either. And like most of the movies you haven't seen this year, promotion was weak. You may have had Seth Rogen and Keanu Reeves, but I don't think it's the role the fans wanted to see him play. They prefer John Wick, which is still way better, but I don't know what the big deal is with that character. I mean, anybody could play him.
You don't know what you're talking about.
And the Naked Gun may have proven comedy can still make it, and slapstick comedy that is. But again, established franchise. Good Fortune may have had a few issues, a bit lost toward the end, but it's a really fun movie. It had a strong message, one you may not like, but it's reality. Keanu Reeves nails the comedy. It was clearly not gonna make it, but if you want something different, a truly comedic movie that knows what it is, well, that's Good Fortune.
I did everything I was supposed to do and nothing's working out.
Like I said, without a franchise to back it up, a mid-budget movie is gonna have issues. Caught Stealing got some criticism for being disjointed. I personally didn't mind that, but on the darker side, more so than expected. but its failure is about as shocking as The Last of Us Season 2. As in, not at all. Opening around Labor Day wasn't the best either. Despite having a unique look, it wasn't enough to sell it, and the movie simply cost too much to make. You know, in this moment in time, it wasn't always that way, but it's the reason cinema is going to hell. I hate to agree with Chris Stuckman, especially with his Gladiator 2 review, because it's Stuckman, so it's positive, but sometimes being creative doesn't pay off. Then again, that movie could do whatever it wanted because it was anticipated. That's just Stuckman sucking off to them. But Caught Stealing, despite having Austin Butler, needed to do something else to grab your attention. Needless to say, it didn't.
I depend on your poor judgment.
But if I have your attention, please do like the video, consider subscribing down below. And even though I've reviewed all these movies on this channel, that's not going to be the case from this point on because I don't think the algorithm likes that. If you still want to see me covering the new movies every week, there is a link down below to the new channel. I hope to see you there. So given I've chosen to do this opposed to a proper best movie list, you should know Sinners would have obviously won, then The Long Walk, it's a masterpiece, and then this. Begonia is fucking amazing for a number of reasons, almost nothing wrong with it. Unfortunately, almost nobody watched the video I made on it, likely because it's a box office failure, but if you want to know why it's so great, just watch that video. It's not that long. The point is here, why did it fail, and it's the same shit. A subject that's not going to interest everybody, coming out during a crowded month, even though it wasn't a crowded week, but in the end, money is money. Being another issue, it was too expensive. And the thing is, movies like this have to have legs. Even though One Battle After Another was somewhat of a disappointment, it had legs, even if some fake critics acted like it didn't. In this case, word did not spread, it just wasn't happening, and without it, one of the best movies of the year can still be a flop. And it was. Granted, it's not something everybody wants to see, but that's kind of it. If you don't make what the public wants to see, the same shit, this is what happens. It's a sad thing to admit, it's unfortunate, but it's the reason the theater is kind of dying. Begonia is a fantastic movie, amazing performances, a well-done concept, and it's top 3 hands down this year, but to the box office, that means shit.
What's the difference?
Yeah, I'm gonna cheat and combine 2 movies because it's the same deal. Kinda. The failure of Christie and Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere is definitive proof that the biopic industry is dead. The Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown, was highly acclaimed, and ideally what audiences want from biopics. Playing it safe. By safe, I don't mean it's bad, I mean it's a time in history that any remotely casual Bob Dylan fan knows about. Because believe me, a lot more happens after that. It's actually quite fascinating, but that probably wouldn't have sold, so how would these? And Springsteen is the exact opposite. It's not full of big, bombastic stage shows. Born in the USA is only played in this to show off how it got shelved. And the main focus is Nebraska being Springsteen's fucking folk album. I should tell you exactly why the movie didn't do too well, why it didn't get the best reviews, because nobody gives a shit. If you're a Springsteen fan, which I've kind of become since reviewing that movie, you'll likely know the relevancy of that album, how it's quite different. But in this biopic, they go into the full story, and it's really damn good. Before seeing it, I knew that was gonna be the case. The trailer made it pretty obvious, but I guess nobody wanted that, so a failure it was. If you're a fan, you should see it. It's mostly accurate. It's a very impactful movie. Not many biopics go there. But if you don't give a shit about Springsteen and you just want a fun time, I guess that's the issue. Understandable, but in the case of Christie, the year's biggest failure, it's not hard to deduce why it flopped. You see, Sydney Sweeney intentionally gained a lot of weight just to get attention, despite knowing how offensive it is to portray a lesbian if you're not gay. And to ensure the movie's failure, she intentionally rage-baited during an interview, opposed to apologizing for being a racist. Man, a Nazi. That's why it failed. It was homophobic, racist trash. That's why Eden failed, not because nobody wants an accurate movie about settlers. That's why Americana failed, not because nobody wants a movie about fighting over an Indian artifact. And that's why The Housemaid will no doubt fail. Definitely not the competition of Avatar and yet another SpongeBob movie. If you believe anything I just said, you're literally a fucking idiot. And I mean, literally, you have no sense at all. It's no joke, this is a narrative that's going around, which some people do legitimately believe. All I can say is, The Smashing Machine, it failed too. It had Dwayne Johnson. Everybody likes him. I think we've talked enough about how a gene pun supposedly destroyed somebody's career, so on to the real reason the movie flopped, and it doesn't take too much to comprehend. Nobody gave a shit about Christy Martin. That's why it made nothing, even if you're only going to see Sydney Sweeney because she's hot. She isn't in this because of the transformation, so you'd have to legitimately be into Christy Martin. And you probably aren't. The amount of brain-dead stupidity, obsessive devotion to whatever fake sites or people you listen to would have to be quite sizable to believe it's any other reason. The movie didn't cost too much to make, only $15 million, but regardless, it made nothing, not to mention the competition. Predator Badlands. Still a phenomenal biopic that I say is worth seeing, even if you don't know who she is. Stuff like The Guardian and whatnot are fucking liars. The rating you see if you look it up is a complete lie. You might not be into it, but given you want a biopic that does things the right way, and the Springsteen movie is too tame, I guess, this is it. Why they made it expecting a profit, that's beyond me. But relative to how big the loss is, you can't beat it.
But one day you're gonna wake up and realize that it turns just fine without you.
And there you have it, 5 or 6 movies you probably missed out on, as many did, which you can now rectify. Let me know how I messed up, hit the like button, consider subscribing, share the video if you can, and hit the bell to get notified. Otherwise, recommendations do nothing. I'm the Analyst, and remember kids, what even is a box office?